In 1948, the Games were hosted by London. Just 3 years after the end of World War II, the peaceful symbolism of the torch was particularly poignant. The first torchbearer, a corporal in the Greek army, discarded his military uniform in a gesture of peace. The civil war in Greece meant that the Greek runners carried the torch only the short distance from Olympia to the coast, rather than to Athens. It was taken to Italy by warship, from where it was escorted to London. British athlete Sandy Duncan.
I thought, here's the Olympic flame lit in Olympia, and we've got to get it to Wembley. I followed in a Rolls-Royce, obvious to say, not my own. The most thrilling moment for me was going to Lausanne. There was the wife of Pierre de Coubertin and the whole Olympic family gathered together for a little ceremony at his grave. I was delighted when the cauldron was lit. My job was done. It had arrived.
The Oslo Games of 1952 were the first Olympic Winter Games to have a torch relay. The flame wasn't lit at Olympia. It was kindled in the hearth of the chalet of Sondre Norheim, the 19th century pioneer of Nordic skiing. "94 skiers carried the flame the 225 kilometers to Oslo. The relay journey for the Summer Games of 1952 was much more complicated. The most direct route from Olympia to the host city, Helsinki in Finland, went through the Soviet Union. But the Cold War meant that the border remained closed, even to the Olympic flame. For the first time, the Olympic flame took to the air. It was transferred to a miner's lamp in Athens and flown to Copenhagen in Denmark, before going north to the Arctic Circle, then south into Finland. For the 1956 Summer Games at Melbourne, the Olympic flame entered the southern hemisphere for the first time, making several stops en route. On reaching Australia's northeast coast, Con Verivis, a local with Greek heritage, started the first leg of the relay.
I vividly remember the Canberra jet bomber carrying the sacred flame, landing at Cairns Airport. I felt I was running in a dream, oblivious to anything around me. The only problem I had was the flame from the torch would burn the side of my head as my arm became tired. The greatest moment of my run was when I lit the torch of the second runner, an Aboriginal lad, Anthony Mark. Suddenly, the reality of the event hit me.
The experience was one all torchbearers would treasure.
Letters were sent from the state body in Sydney to all the athletic clubs throughout New South Wales. If members would like to participate in the torch relay, they had to run the mile under 6 minutes. So there were 3 of us from Tamworth nominated to carry the torch at Port Macquarie. That's how I came to be one of the torchbearers. It was a great thrill at the time.
During the Games, John was one of many people who stayed with relay organiser Alec Jamieson. For John, the Olympic relay was responsible for lighting another flame.
Our relationship started through my father bringing John home to our house in Melbourne. He had asked us a few years previous to that, could he stay with us during the Olympic Games? And so that fortnight of the Games, we were there sitting together at the Games every day. 6 weeks later, we announced our engagement, and it just seemed as though it was all just meant to happen. Undoubtedly, the Olympics did bring us together. We've been happily married now for 47 years.
Here in the land of the Southern Cross, in the colourful city of Melbourne, we await the arrival of the Olympic flame, the symbolic emblem of true sportsmanship.
Joan's father was responsible for overseeing the final stages of the relay. The last torchbearer's identity was a closely guarded secret.
We had no idea who was going to come in with the torch for that final moment. Then I can remember a lot of chatter going on round about, saying, "It's Ron Clark, it's Ron Clark," and then the excitement was just electric.
As I ran around the arena, chunks of burning magnesium fell off the sparkling candle. It was like running with a live, sparkling firecracker. There were only a few hairs singed and a few holes in the white t-shirt. The more I protested that it all looked much worse than it really was, the more everyone assumed I was being modest. I was never at risk of suffering any sort of burn. But let's not spoil a good story with the facts.
The torch relay to the 1960 Summer Games of Rome was the first to be televised. The world should have seen Baldassare Sparacino carry the torch in his home city.
I was supposed to carry the torch, and I had it with me the day before. But my father was terminally ill, and I lost my chance to run in the relay. But I was allowed to keep the torch. My pain was heavy to bear. Only the Olympic torch helped me to keep going.